Hey, how you doing? Uh, Captain's log. Today is the 19th of September 2020. Time now is about 11:30. It's about 11:30. I am outside of the Arsenal Stadium in North London. I think they had a match with no people today. You Arsenal fans out there will know. I'm not quite sure. This is an entrance where I think they letting out the players and the VIPs. And the last remnants of staff is going home. Time now is about 11:30, Saturday the 19th September 2020. Temperature is about 16 degrees. It's a bit cooler. Today was much warmer. It was like around 23 degrees, which was a freakishly hot day today. It's not normal. So in the next couple of days, it's gonna become a bit more cooler because we're actually into autumn. And so we have been in the easing of the lockdown was from 4th of July, August, September. We are on a restrictive lockdown, enforcement of the 6th. So it was from Monday. Only 6 people can congregate at the same time, and it's looking like come the next following days and the next week we're gonna have a kind of extreme enforcement or extreme I don't want to say extreme lockdown, but it could be an extreme lockdown again. When I say extreme, this time it's enforced by a curfew, but we don't know the details yet. What it seems like is like the whole of Europe, France, Spain, Italy, there's a rise in the people being infected by the virus. So there's an extreme rise, but there isn't the rise in death rate hasn't reached an alarming rate at the moment. So in England it's around 20 deaths per day, and it's rising slowly, but the infection rate is something like 4,500 a day, and from 2,000 a day from a few days ago, it's now around 4,000 a day. The death rate is in the 20s and 30s, but that's rising. They are beginning to unfurlough, put on standby these mass hospitals, temporary hospitals that was built. They taking off the dust sheet and they preparing for stormy weather ahead. Now, what I'm seeing with this whole thing, it's a worldwide thing. It's a race. It's almost everybody at the same time said that the kids can go back to kids can go back to school, the students can go back to college and university, people's got to go back to work, and now the infection is actually increasing, and I think part of it is actually due to the kids going to school and mixing and then coming back home and then picking up from whoever at home, then going to school, then mixing and passing it on to each other, then coming home. Also, the easing of some of the hospitality where you can actually go and have meals and drinks and stuff, where some people are supposed to stick to the rules stringently, they're not sticking to it. They're reverting back to a normality as before, but that is the danger. There is no such thing as normality as before if you're going to take on board how the virus actually travels and infect people. But what this virus is actually showing, it's magnifying and speeding up some processes in life. The disparity between the young and the old, the disparity between black and white, the disparity between rich and poor, and in England there's a thing called North and South. At this very moment, the north of England is literally under a lockdown. Some people cannot leave their area. Some people cannot visit other households. But there are certain services, essential services, which are happening. So the north is under a kind of lockdown, and even the curfew. The south. Okay, this is we're down here in Arsenal outside of football, so this is probably one of the players or support staff. Those of you familiar with sports, collecting sports signatures and trophies, would wait outside of the stadium when the athletes are leaving and try and get a signature. So this is what is happening down here at Arsenal Stadium, down here in North London. I live close by, so lucky for me, but there are some negatives for living in the area. But back to the disparity, how it's magnifying and amplifying some of the social situations. So you've got the north and south. In fact, we've got the different unions. United Kingdom. So Scotland has it differently. Wales has it differently. Ireland has it differently. So there's different rules and regulation, and in certain places you can't actually leave the area. They're literally under a lockdown and a curfew. I don't know how they're enforcing it, whether it's by army or police. So the disparity, young, old, rich, poor, black, white, and all the other sections of how we are divided. North and south, location, where you live, location, inner city and suburban. You know, it is magnifying and amplifying those differences, those prejudice, those people's situation. So it looks like that we might have a full lockdown. I think literally in a few days' time. Some says in a couple of weeks' time, to coincide with the one of the term holidays, half-term holidays, with the schools and education. Freshers in colleges and university are warned not to socialize, which is a pretty difficult thing for students. But some people believe that they've got privileges. I don't mean in relation to the students, but in some aspects of the population, you know. Just on my short walk down here, I've seen restaurants, and how they're operating is like there is no restrictions. It's like normal. So they believe that you know, the virus, or it doesn't apply to them, or they've got special immunity. So the privileged classes of those people thinks they're privileged, emphasizing that, you know. I see people more temperamental and more emotional at the moment. I see signs that some people are getting ready for a lockdown. You know, some people take it very, very, very seriously, and if they see other people not keeping their distance, wearing a mask, they tell them about it, and they've got into conflicts with other people when they've done that. Here's a big coach. I wonder what this coach is all about. Can you see it? Yeah, it's probably support staff, or I don't know, the kits, or it's a mighty big coach. But that is part of the excitement of living in London. I don't have to actually go very, very far to see things happening, or things happening right in front of me. Actually, it could be some of the players there. Who's got a long journey, or who's staying in a hotel, or support staff, I don't know, or managers, or promoters, or press, you know. So back to the situation. So the amplification and the speeding up. When I say speeding up, this K recovery, what it is, it's actually, for me, there is no recovery. All it is amplification and speeding up. If you're poor, you continue to be more poor. If you're rich, you continue that 1%. I'm hearing this thing from my economic. If you're in that 1%, that 1% is still generating even more money. But the 99%, if you couldn't go to work, you're in debt. There's going to be here in England, they are going to start evicting people now. So the holdback on this non-eviction thing will be lifted literally tomorrow. But part of some people are actually saying that because there'll be so much people waiting to get their court case, it's probably, you might be lucky you get a few more extra months before you get evicted from your premises. So this K recovery is not a recovery. It's magnification and an amplification of your current situation. So if you're poor or you're underclass, it's even you even going further down that skid row, the drains. You're going further down the drains. If you've got assets and you've got investments and stuff, you're richer every day. So it just accelerates. The other effect we're having is that people are not coming to the cities as much as before, and so what we are finding is that there is a distinct move for people to move from the central London to the outskirts. And what I've picked up on is not only in the UK, Europe and America and worldwide, people are moving away from the cities where they used to work and congregate and do business, and moving out to the outskirts. And so there's a movement at the moment in that direction. Whatever the economic people wouldn't tell you that is happening in any great speed, because they want you to believe things are continuing as normal. It's probably another player. There's some kids there running after. I think it's one of the players. They just come out of the stadium and they're trying to run after the car, trying to get a signature. But yeah, so business-wise, the center of cities are desolate. Businesses are closing down because they're not getting a footfall. Plus, they've got standing bills, which hasn't stopped. Rents, rates, utilities, gas, water, electricity. The government's subsidy here in the UK to businesses and people is going to cease in the next 4 to 6 weeks. Now, we don't know if they're going to extend it, but there are rumors of certain things being extended to try and ease the situation. But this virus looks like it's going to be around in a very strong form up until March again next year, because we're going into the cold and the winter period, and that's when it started in China. Now, I think China is going to be in some problems, because China was fantastic in locking down Wuhan province, city, district. They were fantastic. Army, military. They chucked up hospitals in 14 days. They just chucked it up. But they're very good in keeping people isolated. Now, once this virus is in the world somewhere, it's everywhere in the world. Can you see the blue lights? Well, it's all the fun of the fair here. Yeah, now once the virus is anywhere in the world, it's everywhere in the world. So why I say China is in trouble is because China did a great job in locking down the area, and probably at the moment any signs or any symptoms, jumping on it pretty fast. But once this virus is out in the world, it means what China has done is protect all the other people outside of Wuhan. They've stopped the virus reaching them. But that does not mean that you're safe, because the people in Wuhan, those who got the virus, some survived and some passed away. So that area is under lockdown. But when the virus gets out of the area, those who there are going to be fatalities. So what I'm saying is that once it reaches outside, people haven't got any kind of protection. They're just as vulnerable originally as the people are in Wuhan. So just because you're kept isolated from it doesn't mean when it reaches you outside of Wuhan and the other provinces in China, doesn't mean that you're immune to it. The same thing that happened to Wuhan, same thing that's going to happen to the rest of China if the virus is still about, or if the virus mutates. Right, this second wave, I've been told it's not a mutation. It's just that the people who were in isolation have now come out, and they are now getting the infection of this COVID-19 virus. So it's not a second wave. It's still the first wave. It means that the people who were isolated are now getting this virus. So I'm looking forward to a very strict lockdown coming probably in the next few days or the next few weeks. We in England at the moment, we're under lockdown rules that says that no more than 6 people can congregate. No families, different families can congregate more than 6. No more than 6 people in any premises or any place. There are exceptions. I think education and religious congregation is there is different exceptions for that. You can have weddings and funerals. I think the limit at the moment is 30 people. And let me say, I went to a funeral reception, a funeral thing, let's say, a couple of weeks back. The easing of the lockdown is literally, the call for people to go back to a sort of normality was literally only 2-3 weeks ago. And a funeral thing that I was at, the person who organized, that was about 2 weeks ago, the person who organized the funeral, who specifically asked for me to come down and help them out, socially distanced, 30 people, mask. It's actually live streamed because the various people, because of the limitation, 30 people, it's live streamed. So that person actually called on me specifically because I've known them for a long time and I've been in this business for a long time. That person has passed away in the last couple of days. The situation, one could only guess of what happened to her. So as I was saying, so with the restrictions we have, we're meant to be under this six people only. 6 people only can congregate. My normal place where I hang around in Finsbury Park, outside with some folks, it looks like that's gonna be a lockdown. Well, even if it isn't under the new rules, I'm gonna avoid going there anyway for the time being, waiting for the lockdown to hit in its harder form, and curfew as well, in its harder form, because the rate of the growth of the infection of the virus, it is growing by thousands a day. So each day, so it's like 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000. We're on something like 4,000 a day at the moment. The hospitalization hasn't reached yet. The death rate is probably the normal ambient death rate for around 20 people a day. But they're bracing themselves that the hospitalization would hit in around 14 days. And then the increase in infections would start to rise to 10,000. I think at this rate we'll reach 10,000 probably sometime next week. France is a good example. France has actually reached 10,000 a day. Spain has reached, I think, around 8,000 a day, and they're starting to lock down, literally heavily lock down and curfew people in those areas. So I'm looking forward for the enforced lockdown. Like I said, probably the next few days or the next couple of weeks. So the death rate, 10s and 20s, the infection rate, 4,000 and 5,000 as for today. In the next few days it rises to 10,000, and then they'll come down and lock down. On a personal note, for the last 6 months, there's so many things that I have should have done, and because of the call to get back to normality a couple of weeks ago and get back to work and stuff, I am kind of very busy. The type of not necessarily lifestyle, but the type of things I do with technology, it's heavily technology based, what I do. So the video photography, sound, I'm literally building the stuff and putting the stuff together and testing the stuff and learning software and learning programs. And because technology is constantly changing, new techniques, new style, and even I will develop new techniques and new style. And like let's say like a scientist, things have to be tested and retested, and under working conditions you got to make sure it doesn't fail. So I've got plenty of stuff to do, and I'm just surprised how I didn't literally do anything for 6 months. But I did. My time was in a balanced, well spent. That's why you haven't seen. I haven't the last couple of weeks. I haven't done a video log because I haven't had the time. I was actually bogged down finishing off some work for actually a client. So at this stage now, so let's say the second lockdown, the good thing is then the non-essential services that was shut down, we can access, and they want us to go to work, they want us to work, they want us to spend money, and so I've got access to my raw material, so I could continue building in hope of when things ease down, it'll be like a dam. People would want certain things, and I could see the signs of that with the ease down we've had. There's certain things where people have just flooded out, and so it looks like there is a demand. So all I've got to do is make sure that I'm up to scratch and equipment is working, I'm working. But on a more final note and a more philosophical and personal development, so those of you if you've got time, you should develop your personal assets, right? So, what is your personal assets, right? Your personal assets cannot be taken away from you and cannot be stolen in general, right? Now, this is my philosophication, right, of the situation, philosophication of the situation. So your personal assets cannot be taken away or stolen, right? Your personal assets are how good you are, how good you look, your facial look, your physical attribute, and your social skill or social skills. Whatever skills you have. I don't know. You're carpenter, baker, accountant, lawyer. You can. So what I'm saying. So what you do during the lockdown is you improve on those. So you keep looking good, or women know how to look good. You keep doing your exercise and dieting and stuff, so that's your physical attribute. Your social skill is whatever education, whatever sort of communication skills, whatever you need to learn about which you're lacking. So during this second lockdown, it doesn't look like they're gonna shut down the non-essential services. So I can always access the bits and pieces that I need to continue constructing and building and learning for when we come out of it. So if they don't shut down the non-essential services, then I wouldn't be too sad, right? So, but if they do, I can still continue anyway. I've still got enough things to do and nothing to sort out for months. I don't know about years, but months, and it's almost coming up to a year, 9 months, because I've been watching this from Christmas, from China, from December last year. So it's coming up to a year. So Christmas, I don't know what Christmas is going to be like. We've had some extreme hot weather here in the UK for summer, and summer is about to end. If I make a prediction, we're going to have some extreme weathers for winter and autumn, and of course the extreme weather brings in people being more sick from the cold and ailments when it comes to winter. So that's going to be a big unknown. But what is happening is there are preparations for the worst. And on a personal note, you should be preparing for the worst case scenarios that might happen over the winter, But leaving you now, I hope you have enough food to eat. I hope you have a place to stay, because they could completely out of the street. I hope you can find a place of warmth. Have some form of communication with other people, or if you have, if you're a pet person, cat, dog, even the foxes and the pigeons, I see people out there. You ever see that lady out there that's feeding the pigeon? Yeah, there's one. There are those people out there. So I hope you have those basic things in your life. And if you haven't, those are the things you can work on and figure out how to bridge those gaps and get those things in your life. Ahead of us. I'm not going to say during this second lockdown, but it is coming. All right. So for me, from now, see you on the next video log.